Glowing Defiance, a suburban rebellion story. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, sealed in an envelope the color of faded dreams beige, the kind that screams bureaucracy and surrender. It wasn't just paper. It was a declaration of war, slipped into my mailbox between a coupon for a tire rotation and a flyer for a pizza joint that thought pineapple was a personality trait. I stood in my driveway, the weight of that envelope heavier than the summer humidity in Oakwood Meadows, our meticulously curated slice of suburban America. My name's David, a 52-year-old graphic designer who's spent decades dodging conformity like it's a bad logo pitch. My home office, a cluttered haven of monitors, sci-fi paperbacks, and action figures, was my refuge in a neighborhood obsessed with sameness. Oakwood Meadows promised harmonious living when we bought our house, but what they meant was a dictatorship of taupe siding and lawns mowed to military precision. Individuality here was a myth, like Bigfoot or affordable healthcare. The letter bore the seal of the Oakwood Meadows Architectural Review Board, led by Margaret, the HOA president. Margaret, in her late 50s, had the intensity of a tax auditor and the wardrobe of a tennis coach, always in a visor, always clutching a clipboard like it was the Constitution. I'd seen her measure a neighbor's hedges with a ruler, time how long it took for trash cans to disappear post-pickup, and glare at a garden gnome like it was a felon. My golden retriever, Rusty, wagged his tail as I opened the letter, oblivious to the storm brewing. Inside, in a font that screamed, "We mean business," was a violation notice. A grainy photo showed cracks in my sidewalk, circled in red like a crime scene. The text demanded I fix them within 14 days, per Bylaw 7, Section 4A, which required walkways to be smooth, uncracked, and uniformly safe. The kicker? A red stamp screamed, "Final notice," despite this being my first warning. I read it aloud to Rusty, who tilted his head as if to say, "This is why I stick to chewing bones." That evening, I showed the letter to my wife, Susan, a structural engineer with a mind for logic and a tolerance for my chaos. She was chopping onions in our kitchen, her size signaling she knew I'd turn this into a crusade. "David, just grab some concrete patch from Home Depot," she said, practical as ever. "It's an hour's work." "It's not about the cracks," I countered, waving the letter. "It's about Margaret's beige tyranny. This font, this stamp, it's a power trip. I'm not just fixing this sidewalk. I'm making a statement." Susan rolled her eyes. "You're making a spectacle. Don't get us fined, Michelangelo." Sleep eluded me that night. The letter sat on my nightstand, mocking me. I grabbed my laptop, searching for sidewalk repair ideas. Concrete patch? Boring. Polyurethane sealant? Soul-crushing. Then I stumbled on kintsugi, the Japanese art of mending broken pottery with gold, celebrating flaws. My mind raced. Bylaw 7 didn't specify materials or colors, only that the sidewalk be smooth and safe. At 2 a.m., I found it, glow-in-the-dark epoxy resin. Images of luminous art projects filled my screen: cosmic blue, electric green, neon orange. A plan formed, as audacious as it was petty. "Uniformly safe?" I whispered, grinning. "Not uniformly dull." The next morning, I hit an art supply store, grabbing jars of phosphorescent powder in aqua and blue. The cashier, a teenager named Luna, raised an eyebrow as I stacked 10 jars. "Building a glow-stick factory?" she asked. "Enhancing municipal safety," I replied with a wink. "Top secret pedestrian project." At the hardware store, I found epoxy resin, its cans plastered with warnings like a nuclear warhead. A grizzled employee named Hank, sporting a walrus mustache, eyed my cart. "Fixing something fancy?" he asked. "Sidewalk cracks," I admitted. "The HOA's on my case." Hank laughed, a deep rumble. "My sister's HOA fined her for a crooked mailbox. Stick it to him. Mix that epoxy slow, no bubbles, or it won't be smooth." He winked. "Gotta stay compliant, right?" Back home, I suited up in goggles and gloves, looking like a discount chemist. I cleaned the cracks with a Dremel tool, sending concrete dust everywhere. Rusty watched, confused but supportive. Mixing the epoxy was like alchemy: clear resin turned into a glowing blue potion as I stirred in the powder. As I knelt to pour, a shadow loomed. It was Carl, Margaret's nosy sidekick, walking his yapping Pomeranian, Duchess Snugglepaws. "Blue cement, David?" Carl asked, squinting. "Aerospace-grade polymer, I lied smoothly. Settles gray. Safety first, Carl. He nodded, mollified, and shuffled off. I poured the epoxy, smoothing it flush with a trowel. It was messy blue goo on my jeans, my hands, my hair, but by dusk, the cracks were gone, replaced by veins of pale blue. I waited, heart pounding, for nightfall. As the sun vanished, the sidewalk came alive. Glowing rivers of blue-green light snaked through the concrete, like a sci-fi cityscape. Susan stared from our window, awestruck. "Okay, that's actually incredible," she admitted. Cars slowed, drivers gawking. Kids ran out, tracing the lines. A teenager filmed it, and by morning, the video was viral on TikTok, captioned, "My neighbors fighting the HOA with glow. Sidewalk rebellion." Margaret was livid. She stormed over the next morning, clipboard in hand, visor low. "What is this?" she demanded, gesturing at my sidewalk like it was a biohazard. "Fix the cracks," I said, sipping coffee. "Smooth, safe, compliant." Added a safety feature, glows at night. Eco-friendly illumination for joggers. She flipped through her bylaws binder. Section 12, subsection C. Exterior modifications must match the approved color palette. Blue isn't on it. Structural filler, not paint or siding, I countered. Bylaw 7 doesn't mention color. Loophole, Margaret. Her face turned scarlet, but she had no comeback. She stormed off, vowing legal action. The TikTok hit 100,000 views, comments cheering my rebellion. "Savage move," one read. "HOA lady's gonna explode," another predicted. Then came the red envelope, a $500 fine for unapproved aesthetic modification and public nuisance. Susan wasn't laughing anymore. "This is getting expensive, David," she said. "It's about principle," I insisted. "Freedom. Light. Our right to a non-beige life." Margaret escalated, calling the cops. 2 officers arrived at dusk, one weary, one stifling a grin. "Flashing? Noisy. Steady glow, silent," I said. "Safer than ever." Thompson shrugged. "No ordinance against glowing sidewalks. Civil matter, not our jurisdiction." They left, and Margaret's porch light flicked off in defeat. The local news caught wind. A reporter, Emily, interviewed me on my lawn, the sidewalk glowing dramatically. "It's about safety and joy," I told her. "This is the happiest sidewalk in Ohio." The segment aired, painting me as a quirky hero. A law professor noted HOAs often overreach with vague rules, bolstering my case. Margaret's next move was drastic: a contractor to rip out my sidewalk. The letter, on crisp white paper, said a crew would arrive Friday, bill to follow. At 9 a.m., a burly man named Joe pulled up, sledgehammer in hand. I offered him water and told the saga: Margaret's letters, the TikTok, the cops. I showed him the viral video. Joe laughed, his mustache quivering. "She called it a chemical spill," he said. "This is art, man." On speakerphone, he told Margaret it was a custom installation his insurance wouldn't cover. "Plus, it's solid. Better than the mess at number 42. He winked, advised me to fight any bill legally, and drove off. Margaret's final gambit was a community meeting to amend Bylaw 7, banning luminescent or attention-grabbing materials. Susan helped me prepare, not with PowerPoints, but with photos of kids playing on the glowing sidewalk and supportive TikTok comments. At the meeting, Margaret's dull presentation lulled the crowd. Then I spoke. "I fixed my sidewalk," I said, holding up the beige letter. "But it became more. Kids play here now. Neighbors connect. This isn't about rules, it's about community, joy, a little light in the dark. Vote for fun, not beige." The room erupted in applause. The amendment failed by a landslide. Margaret looked broken, her binder useless. I felt a twinge of pity. Weeks later, the sidewalk was a local landmark. The HOA rescinded the fine. I became a suburban legend, fielding emails from others fighting their HOAs. One day, I saw Margaret weeding her yard. On impulse, I crossed the street. "Tough meeting," I said. "You mocked our standards," she replied, yanking a dandelion. "Or gave us new ones," I offered. She paused, then shared her story: a lost home due to an unapproved deck, a financial ruin that fueled her rule obsession. My sidewalk, to her, was chaos reborn. I didn't excuse her, but I understood. "I'm sorry," I said. "Truly." She nodded. "The blue's not awful," she muttered, returning to her weeds. "It was our truce." That night, Susan and I sat on our porch, beers in hand, watching the sidewalk glow. A family passed, their kid hopping along the lines. "You're a community leader now," Susan teased. "Next stop, HOA president." I choked on my beer. "Never," I gasped. "That's a fate worse than beige." The sidewalk stood, a glowing testament to fighting conformity, building connection, and proving that even in suburbia, a little rebellion can light up the world. What do you think of David's stand against the HOA? Was his glowing sidewalk a brilliant rebellion or a reckless provocation? How do you view the balance between community rules and personal freedom? Have you faced similar battles against overreach or injustice in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Would love to hear your perspective on standing up to authority and creating change.